What's going on, everybody? So today, contrary to the last video, I'm going to be making things you shouldn't be doing in a manual car. Things that might ruin it. They might make the drive poor. They might just demolish your car very quickly when you don't really want that to happen. But before we get too far into the video, I'd like to ask, if you guys do like the video, please leave a like, because it does help me and the channel out a lot. And if you want to see more of my content, please feel free to subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss one of my videos. But without further ado, let's just get into the video. So first off, we'll say when you're first practicing manual or first learning, even if you're actually an advanced manual driver, it is a very good practice that every time you shift a gear, the second you get off the clutch, slam your foot into the dead pedal. It sounds useless in theory, but when you start to do it, you'll understand that hearing the sound of the dead pedal, hearing the sound of your foot hitting something, is just a conscious thing that, hey, I'm off the clutch, because you never want to ride your clutch. That's the main point of this, is that you just never want to ride your clutch, as you can destroy it very quickly. If you put even a tiny bit of pressure, it might put enough force on the throwout bearing to engage the clutch, and that could be very, very detrimental and could very quickly just wipe your clutch off the face of existence. So I'm going to show you videos of my feet and my hand, just so you understand what I'm doing and you can kind of get a picture of everything that's going on. I'm going to be doing it like the same as last video. I'm going to put it after every single segment, just as you see what I'm getting at and what I'm trying to say. But every time you slam your foot into that dead pedal, you will hear the sound of it, and you know that you're off the clutch. Because if you ride that clutch out, if you put your foot anywhere near it, if there's anything resting on it, it will destroy your clutch, and there's nothing you can really do about it. It's just premature wear, and I'm assuming that you don't want that. So every time you shift gears, even if it's from first to second, even though that's the short gear, once you get off to go, if you're at a light or a stop sign, the second you get your car rolling and you can let off the clutch fully, let off, slam it to the dead pedal. I know you're going to be shifting in a second very soon, but again, even those couple seconds add up very quickly, and when you've been doing that at every stoplight, every stop sign, red light, anything, you will very quickly wear out your clutch. Those small moments add up very quickly. So if you're just starting to roll, if you're getting in between second and third to fourth, fourth to fifth, fifth to sixth, anything, right when you get off that clutch, once your foot leaves the surface, hit it on the dead pedal and you'll hear it, and you'll just eventually start picking up the habit of, hey, I'm off the clutch. As I was saying before, I was rudely interrupted by my camera running out of space. As I was saying, in between shifts, your brain will eventually just become cognizant, and it'll become a force of habit. Just every time you shift gears and every time you're off the pedal, you'll immediately be like, hey, let's put my foot somewhere that isn't going to harm my car and that can't do any damage whatsoever. So as I was saying, for every time you get off the clutch for the first time, whether you're starting your car or shifting gears, every single time you get off the clutch, slam it on your dead pedal so there is that little audible sound, just to get that repetitive motion, and that sound just eventually clicks in your head where you'll just be doing this without even realizing. It's just more of a trigger that, hey, I'm off the clutch, I'm somewhere safe, and this isn't going to harm my car. The next thing kind of goes hand in hand with the last topic. In between each shifts, never rest your hand on your on your shift knob. It can cause a major amount of damage to your mechanisms of your shifter, and everything inside of that can just be completely destroyed. You just putting the slightest bit of pressure, if something's resting on it, it could open the shift gate and then just cause a lot of damage, and you don't want that to happen, because that's just, again, premature wear and just more money you're gonna have to put out just to fix a small problem that could have been avoided. Now, I know it's not going to cause extreme wear in a day, but it could, over the lifetime of your clutch and over the lifetime of your transmission, it could reduce it by a couple months. If it lasts long enough, it could reduce it more, but it could be enough where you could just save up that extra money. To stop doing this, pretty much every time you shift, you're supposed to have your hands on 10 and 2 or 9 and 3, wherever they want it now, but every time time you shift, either put your hands back or put your hands somewhere that it's not gonna have to feel like it's rested. Put it on the armrest, put it on, if you have one of the higher armrests, do that, put it on your leg, put it on whatever you can, just to get it off that shifter. I know it's pretty dangerous, but I usually put mine, I'll often put mine on my e-brake. It's not much better, especially if I ever actually pull it, but there's enough play in it where I don't really have to worry about ripping it, and it's just comfortable where my hand sits. I'll wrap my hand around it, and that's something that works for me. It's either I put my hand on that or on my leg, because my armrest is way too low and I don't usually use it because it's pretty much the exact same putting my hand here. So find something comfortable for you that you can just avoid ever resting your hand on top of your shift knob or pulling it or pushing it in any direction, because again, it can cause a lot of damage to it and you don't want to do that, I'm assuming, and that's pretty much it. And as I was saying, every time you're off the clutch or you shift gears, take your hand away. So when you shift, whether it be from first to second, because I know that's a very short throw, you start getting off the gas, you start moving, take your hand off, shift, and then you're in the next gear. Every time you shift gears, take your hand off and find somewhere to put it, this will save wear for every single component in your transmission, and it's just gonna save you a lot of hassle later down the line. So every time you shift, take your hand off it. Another big one I know a lot of people, especially starting out learning how to drive manual, like to do, but it is extremely bad for your car. Do not roll back and forth on a hill. I know we've all done it. We sit on top of the hill, or we're sitting there waiting for the light to go, and instead of just holding the brakes like a normal person, you start feathering your clutch and you're rolling up and then rolling back down. You're speeding up and you're rolling back down. If you're on a hill, just hold your brakes until it's ready to start going, and then once everything's moving, proceed. There is no reason you should be sitting on the hill rolling back and forth, other than you think you look cool to other people because you drive a manual car, which I can guarantee you don't, because I know every one of us that are watching this video think the same thing when we see someone else doing it. Wow, what an idiot. What is he doing? Sit still. All that. You are that person when everyone's watching you roll back and forth on a hill as if you don't know how to drive. Because everyone knows that that's going to ruin your clutch, but you're still doing it because you think it's fun or it looks cool. Doing this puts an extreme amount of wear on your clutch because you're always half engaging it. So you're forcing your clutch to slip. You don't want that to happen. It's just wearing more than it could because your clutch is just sandwiched in between your flywheel and your pressure plate, and it's still sliding. When your pedal's fully engaged, your clutch will be released, and when it's fully disengaged, your clutch will be pressed and be spinning at the same speed. When you have it half engaged, your clutch is still spinning, but wearing on each side of the parts. So you're just demolishing it way too fast. That's one of the best ways to do it, is just half engage a clutch. Same thing goes for when you're resting your foot on your brake pedal. You're only half engaging it, and it's just sliding in between the other two components, and that just causes an extreme amount of wear. I know it's fun and tempting to roll back and forth on a hill and just use your clutch as your brake, but it's really bad for all the components in your car. So just let off, hold the brakes down, then when you're ready to go, put the clutch in and start accelerating. Doing this and just bouncing back and forth on it is so bad for your clutch. Just please try never to do it. You don't look as cool as you think you do rolling back and forth on a hill like this. It's just really bad. There's no positives to it. Don't do it. Just hold the brake in. Even if you have to hold the brake and clutch in at a light or whatever, don't roll back and forth. Another one that I know a lot of people have a problem with because you either just don't know or you think it's harmless, but it does harm your transmission. Don't accelerate in the wrong gear. If I'm going 80 in a back road, I'm usually in 5th gear, which is the max in this car. To pass someone or to get into a lane beside them and start accelerating, don't stay in your top gear. Your top gear isn't usually for power. It's not to accelerate. It's to pretty much maintain your speed. If you're trying to accelerate, drop your gears. Go down from 5th to 4th or 5th to 3rd, something around that where you can actually successfully put down power without lugging your transmission and your engine and causing wear when you really don't have to at all. A lot of the time I get people just think it's no no issue at all to do it, but it really does hurt your engine or your transmission, and I know it's not gonna break it that day, but again, it will reduce the life significantly over the course of the transmission's lifetime. See, I'm accelerating right now, I'm in third gear, go to fourth, I can get over, and in fourth, I'm still revving high enough where I'm going to be putting down power. Now that I'm in fifth, I don't want to accelerate, and I don't want to mat the gas, because no matter what happens, you'll see, that's matted. Nothing changed whatsoever. But if I drop a gear, I go to fourth, you can see and hear the amount of acceleration that's actually happening instead of me just standing in one place and my transmission is trying to keep up and just can't. That causes a lot of premature wear, and you don't want to do it, and just try and avoid it. Anytime you want to pass, whether it be because you're too lazy or you think it's not going to do anything to your transmission, just drop the gear. It's going to save you a headache later in the future, and it's just going to be better for you all in all. So drop the gear, it'll help you. Trust me. The last thing I do want to talk about is try not to stretch your gears. I do it, everyone does it. You forget what gear you're in, or you just don't realize that you're in a gear too low, or you're 2 gears too low because you have your music blasting and you can't hear your exhaust. Whatever the case may be, try not to stretch your gears out way more than they should be already. Your first gear is usually in most cars rated to about 15 miles per hour or 22-ish kilometers per hour. That's when they want you to shift out of first. That's your length, and unless you're racing, please do not just sit in that gear. You'll notice it gets very uncomfortable. If you let off the gas, you'll feel the sudden change of speeds. In second, the same thing. There's a certain amount of ratio, and you'll feel it. It's different in most cars. I know mine at 40 in second starts to rev a little high, 40 kilometers an hour. Will start to rev too high, and that's when I know to change it. Try not to stretch out your gears. Just be aware of what gear you're in, because I know, again, you have your music too loud, you might be in third gear and you're flying 70 and you're like, oh, whoops, I'm revving 5 grand, 4,500, and I didn't realize, and I just put all that wear on my clutch the entire way, or all the gears, sorry, not the clutch. But again, that's premature wear that you just don't want to put on your car, because it could cause significant less life than you could be getting if you just were cognizant of what gear you're in. When you're driving, just try and remember what gear you shifted in. Once in a while, check out your tachometer. Make sure you're not revving too high or too low. Then you know if you're stretching your gears out or if you're trying to accelerate at a gear too low, because they both can cause premature wear. There's a nice little medium section where you want to be in the right gear for every application. The only thing this doesn't really apply to is if you're racing, or I can't condone it on camera, but if you're trying to race or speed, that's the only time you could really stretch out your gears, because it's not for a long time. If you're just driving, try not to rev your car to 5 grand and then shift, rev it to another 5, then shift. It's not good. You're gonna waste your gas, which is expensive right now, and you're gonna cause wear on your car, which you don't want, I can guarantee. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please leave a like, as it does help me and the channel out a lot. If you want to see more of my content, or if you seem to be coming back to my channel a lot, please feel free to subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss one of my future videos. Again, it helps me out a lot, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.